All right. I'm going to do Battleship. This is it'll be fun. So first, let's create oops, not that. We're going to create a 5 row by 10 column 2D array of strings. So string, I'm going to call it grid equals new string 5, 10. So that's the only place where we're using the numbers 5 and 10. So now I want you to fill the whole thing with the tilde symbol. That's a shift accent symbol right next to the 1 character. So to do that, we're going to use 2 for loops for int r equals 0, r less than, oops, grid with a G-R-I-D, not grig. Grid.length. And then we're going to do a column for loop. And we're going to say grid RC equals tilde. That's like, looks like water. That's the idea there. So then come down here to where the main method ends. It ends down here. And we want to do a new method, public static void print grid string. I'll just call it G down here. We're going to print the grid right here. With a space between each element. So I'm going to use an enhanced for loop just for practice. For string one-dimensional string array called row out of G. And then we have a string. I'm going to do E for element out of row. And here we're going to system.out.print. You do the print without the ln. We're going to print E plus space. And then every time we've done a whole row, this is the whole row getting printed. Right here, we're going to print a blank line. Okay, so then what I want to do is test this up here right after the for loop where we put everything out. I would say print grid. And let's make sure that we get the ocean over on the right. Looks like the ocean to me. The N is just because I resized the window. All right. All right. I want you to put the ship into a random location. So you can do it all in a single call, grid, row, column equals S. And then for the row, we're going to do int math.random, and it's times grid.length, right? So there's 10 possible spots. The length is 10. And if we do math.random times that, we'll get the numbers 0 through 9, or in this case, actually 5 for the rows, 0 through 5. But almost the same thing for the column. Just the column is grid 0.length. So this will put a ship in a random spot. Let's make sure the code runs. So we'll print grid. So we'll get 2 grids now. We'll get the one without the ship, and then we'll get the one with the ship. And if I wanted a blank line in between them, I could add that. It looked like one really big grid. All right, there we go. Okay. Ask the user repeatedly to guess the row and column. If they get it right, say you sunk my battleship and end. If they get it wrong, tell them they missed. Put an X in the spot. If the user enters something out of range, tell them rather than crashing. It's always a good idea. So I'm going to say while true. I'm just going to loop for a long time. All right. But before that, I realized I need to make a scanner. Scanner, scan equals new, scanner, system.in. I forget, do we have to import that? I think we do. Yeah. So up top, import java.util.scanner. Now we should have our scanner, and actually the program will run forever and just get stuck in this loop, but it should print out the grid and then not complain about anything. Yeah. All right, let's stop it. Okay, so int r equals, print out a prompt, system.out.println, please enter a row. I'm going to do print without the ln. Let's see if that looks better. And then r equals scan.nextInt. And then I'm going to copy that code and paste it. Please enter a column. And instead of being R, we're going to ask for C. And I'm going to say if R is less than 0 or R is greater than grid.length -1. Remember, because if there's 5 rows, the length is 5, but the number can't be bigger than 4. Or C is less than 0, or C greater than grid 0.length. That means it's out of bounds. System.out.println, one or more of your entries was out of bounds. Please try again. Right, and then we have else. And then we have the main meat of the game will be right here. So let's run this. And speaking of running, we don't need this first print grid anymore. And I actually don't think we need that print grid. I'm going to put it here right before we ask them to enter a row. I want it to print the grid to start each turn. So that'll be better. So in case you missed that, I took the printing of the grid out from all before the while true loop and put it at the start of each turn. You really want to print the grid every time you ask, just before you ask them to do something. You'd like to print the grid so they know what they're playing with. It's taking its sweet time here. Also, I just remembered we should say at the top, welcome to Battleship. All right, so enter a row. All I have in here now is testing out of range. So I'm going to say 5 for the row and 55 for the column. It says one or more of your entries was out of bounds. Please try again. So if I do 4 for the row and 55 for the column, still out of range. If I do -1 for the row and a good column, it still says 1 or more. And so if I go 3 and 3, I should be fine. Nothing happens because there's nothing right here. This is where magic is going to happen. Okay, so now they've entered a number, a row and a column. We're at the spot. We know they're valid. We're going to check if the ship is there. So if grid RC dot equals, remember we're using dot equals because it's a string. So if they found the ship, they hit, right? System.out.println hit. You sunk my battleship. Let's set that spot to an @ symbol to pretend that's like the ship that's been sunk. Let's print the grid one more time so they have the satisfaction of seeing it done. And then let's break. The game's over. Else. So they didn't get it. We're going to copy just those 2 lines. We're going to say miss. Miss. We're not setting a spot to an @ symbol. We're setting it to an X. And X is what I want every time there's a miss. Could be done. I'm not positive, but I'm looking. Yeah, that's all I had in my program. So let me clear the screen and start over. All righty. There's our little field. And if I do out of bounds, 11, 2, one or more of you things was out of bounds. Okay, so I'm going to go 1, 2. Ooh, getting close. 3, 1. All right, I can see if I do 2 and 1, got a hit. You sunk my battleship. And it prints the grid out one more time. You know what I think I want to do is say hit. And then I want to print the grid. And then I want to say you sunk my battleship. Just so the last words on the screen are, you sunk my battleship rather than the printed grid. All right, so this I think is again row 2, and let's try 7. Woo, I got it on the first try. Oh, I forgot to move print grid to be between those things. So we're gonna do one more time. Sorry, everybody. You, of course, can log off this video. Please make sure you test your code. I'm not okay with you turning in something that doesn't work. If I find it doesn't work, you're not gonna get full credit. Here we go. If it doesn't work in your stop, put a private chat in there and say, Mr. Ace, this is the thing I'm having trouble with. I would love some help, But just turning in something that crashes or isn't complete is going to not get you full credit. So, all right, good luck.